So we go now to the part 2 of the virology, which is the RNA. So we go now to the second house, which are the RNA viruses. So remember that RNA viruses are divided into the following classification: either positive sense or negative sense. Tas meron din either positive or negative sense. And then meron ding positive sense RNA through DNA. And then you just need to memorize them. And take note, meron ding table at the back of the handout na parang ganyan. Don't worry, may copy kayo yan. So we go now to the Picornaviridae. Under Picornaviridae, we'll discuss your enterovirus and your rhinovirus. Take note that enterovirus are acid resistant, while rhinovirus are sensitive to acid resistance. Next, your enterovirus entry or portal of entry is through the mouth, while rhinovirus is through the nose. Rhino nga, meaning nose. Okay? And then, your enterovirus causes the aseptic meningitis and the summer flu. Negative for rhinovirus. Under the enterovirus, you also have your poliovirus, your Coxsackie A, and your Coxsackie B. Your poliovirus is the causative agent for poliomyelitis or flaccid paralysis. Meron tayong vaccines dito because poliomyelitis is now preventable through the Sabin and Salk vaccines. Again, pag live vaccine, attenuated vaccine, kay Sabin yon. Kapag inactivated vaccine, Salk. Next, you have your family Orthomyxoviridae. Your Orthomyxoviridae have components of hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. And it also follows antigenic changes wherein you call it antigenic shift kapag ang virus nyo, it undergoes a genetic reassortment. So, nagbabago siya. And usually, antigenic shift happens during the pandemic. And then, you call it as antigenic drift when there is a point mutation on the virus and usually happens during epidemic. Paano yun? Here's a visual representation for the two antigenic changes. Pag sinabing shift, magkakaroon siya ng genetic reassortment. Yung mga old viruses, magmimix siya all together, magkakaroon ng bagong subtype. Ito yung nangyayari kapag pandemic. Kaya mahirap siyang i-sort out ulit. Kasi walang gamot for that one. And then, for antigenic drift naman, ang nangyayari lang is yung old virus nyo, maybe nabago lang siya sa kanyang formation or only a point mutation. One part lang yung nagbabago. Small mutations lang yung nangyayari. Kaya, nangyayari lang siya sa small part. Kaya, epidemic. During epidemic lang siya nangyayari. Or small portion of the world. For influenza viruses, these are the flu viruses na commonly na-encounter natin. For type A influenza viruses, usually, ang nangyayari sa kanilang change is the pandemic antigenic shift. So, tatandaan si AH1N1, AH2N2, AH3N3, and AH5N1. And yung mga tawag ng flu sa kanila. And for type B, influenza viruses, ang nag-o-occur na changes sa kanila is the epidemic antigenic drift. Next family, you have your Paramyxoviridae. Paramyxoviridae is the family that causes your mumps and your measles. For mumps, ang nagkakause is si Paramyxovirus, while your measles virus is caused by the Rubiola virus. So, aside from the Paramyxovirus under mumps, ang distinguishing characteristic sa kanya is the bull neck appearance. While for measles, ang distinguishing characteristic sa kanya is the Koplik spots. Si measles yung ipe hangin. Yun. Tapos yung nawawala na lang siya kabol. Yun. Next, you have your respiratory syncytial virus or RSV. It's the number one cause of bronchiolitis, also bronchitis and pneumonia. Take note na kapag yung pneumonia, viral pneumonia specifically, kasi meron tayong bacterial pneumonia, di ba? Pag viral pneumonia, tapos nag-occur siya sa adults, ang nag-cause nun is the influenza virus. Pero kapag nag-occur yung viral pneumonia sa children, ang nag-cause nun is si RSV. So, huwag kakalimutan yan. Adults, influenza virus. Pag children, RSV. Next, you have your Toga viridae. Under Toga viridae, you have your arbovirus and your alpha virus. Commonly, si Toga viridae is usually acquired through your reservoir, or vector rather, which is the mosquitoes. And then you have several diseases that is caused by Toga viridae. You have your Western equine, Eastern equine, and your Venezuelan equine encephalitis. And then you also have your alpha virus, onyong virus, chikungunya, wrong spelling ulit guys, chikungunya virus, and your rubella virus. Your rubella virus is the causative agent of your German measles. Common siya sa mga babies. And mapapansin nyo that your German measles is also known as the blueberry muffin syndrome because makikita nyo naman sa picture, mukha daw blueberry muffin yung baby kapag meron siyang German measles, 'di ba? Yung mga purple o yung yun yung blueberries. Next, you have your rhabdoviridae is the causative agent for rabies, and the diagnosis for this one is the cellular stain of Negri bodies. Aside from that, you can also use direct immunofluorescent antibody test or DFA, wherein it is the gold standard test for rabies. And usually nadedetect yung rabies antigen sa brain ng dog. And then merong stages during rabies. So first one, incubation, and then prodromal syndrome, and then acute neurologic period, tapos mag-end na sa coma, and then eventually it would lead to death. So importante talaga na ma-vaccinated yung mga dogs natin to prevent the spread of rabies virus. Next, you have your Filoviridae family. We have your dengue fever virus under this one. Ang vector niya is the Aedes aegypti. Your dengue fever is also known as your saddleback fever and your breakbone fever. It has 4 serotypes and 1 found in monkeys. The diagnosis used for this one are the NS1 antigen, the dengue duo, IgG, IgM, and PCR as its definitive test. So, kapag sa hospital setting, ang unang ginagawa is itetest yung patient for NS1 antigen kapag ang suspect diagnosis is dengue. So, sa NS1 antigen, pag nag-positive siya, meaning meron siyang recent infection ng dengue. And then, after that one, itetest siya for dengue duo. Ang dengue duo, ganito ang itsura niya. Okay? Itong part na to. Ito. Duo kasi IgG, IgM. Now, kapag nag-positive siya ng IgM, meaning recent or acute infection meron siya. And then kapag meron na siyang IgG, meaning the patient already starts to recover from dengue. Okay? Kasi nga yung IgG, again, it persists for life. Aside from the dengue, you also have the different diseases caused by Filoviridae, which is the St. Louis, the Japanese bee encephalitis, and the West Nile encephalitis virus. Remember na nagkaroon din tayo ng disease spread of the Japanese bee encephalitis dito, especially here in Pampanga. Take note the mode of transmission nito is nanggaling siya sa pig, and then yung vector is mosquito, tapos sa human. Okay? Again, sa pig, tas mosquito, tas sa human. Pag kasi sa West Nile encephalitis, although wala tayong ganito sa Philippines, ay walang ganito sa Asian part, kasi sa Africa part to. Ang reservoir niya is birds, and then mosquito, vector, and then humans. Next family under the RNA viruses is your Coronaviridae. For this one, I'll be running it down over for you because most probably, baka lumabas to sa boards nyo kasi nga, nangyayari siya currently sa atin. So, under your groups of coronaviruses, you have your alpha, beta, gamma, and your delta. And then, yung three most common coronaviruses na we have is your severe acute respiratory syndrome, your Middle East respiratory syndrome or MERS-CoV, and your novel coronavirus or the COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. Take note that coronaviruses have the reservoir host from the bats. Okay? So, halos lahat silang tatlo galing sa bats. Tapos, si SARS-CoV, in the year 2003 to na discover. And usually, nakita ito sa mga rats or rodents. Si MERS-CoV-2 naman, nangyari siya in the year 2006. And then, nakita siya sa mga camel. And then, currently, in the year 2019, you have your SARS-CoV-2. Up until now, hindi pa distinguished or definitive yung vector niya. Some say that it came from the bats itself. Others say that it came from rats then, same as SARS-CoV. But up until now, nag-spread na lang siya bigla, diba? So, SARS-CoV, both SARS-CoV started in China, MERS-CoV started in Saudi Arabia. Next, you have your family Calciviridae. Tatandaan nyo lang dito si Norwalk virus and the Astrovirus. Si Norwalk virus, it causes your adult diarrhea and summer diarrhea. While Astrovirus, from the name itself, it is a star-like virus diarrhea. So, Calciviridae, it causes diarrhea. And then you also have your family Arenaviridae. All viruses under Arenaviridae causes a hemorrhagic fever. So, the following, eto sila. That ends the two houses under the RNA viruses. We go now to the laboratory diagnosis of viral. So, I'll just mention this one very fast kasi nga, I highly doubt na baka lumabas to sa board exams nyo. Kasi, ano siya patok siya these days, lalo na nag-occur siya currently sa atin. So, when you set up a clinical virology laboratory, the World Health Organization recommends that you should have a biosafety level 2 facility wherein dapat meron daw proper biosafety. Ito dapat level 2. And then aside from that, you have a proper waste disposal and kailangan meron kayong enclosed space for the setup. So, dapat naka-close. Tapos, bago yung pintuan, dapat meron kayong free na space. So, imagine niyo kung nasa laboratory kayo, nandito yung main door. Tapos, papasok ka dito. Tapos, itong open space na to, this is intended daw for the wearing of PPE. And then, after nyo nakasuot na ng PPE, saka pa lang kayo pwedeng pumasok dun sa virology laboratory nyo. And then, same din kapag lumabas ka dun sa facility nyo. Pagkatapos dito, lalabas kayo, and then, bago kayo lumabas sa main door, kasi kapag naka-PPE kayong lumabas, tapos lumabas kayo agad-agad yung, yung kunyari, nasa HEMA section, CC section, gano'n, may expose daw yung spread ng virus. So, kaya important daw yung pagkakaroon ng open space. At least dito, pagkalabas mo, saka mo palang aalisin yung PPE. Tapos dito ka magdi-disinfect. So, na-enclose lang yung spread ng virus dito sa part na to. And then, kalabas mo ng main door nyo, hindi kayo magsispread ng virus sa kanila. Ayun. Ayan, yan yung setup nila. Now, we have several specimens for diagnosis of viral diseases. Mahaba to. So, you have for respiratory, for dermatologic and mucous membranes, for disease with encephalitis, congenital and perinatal, gastrointestinal, ocular diseases, post-transplantation, myocarditis, pericarditis. Ayun. Yung mga tables na yan, I won't really tell you to memorize them, but be familiar with them. Kasi, kailangan alam nyo pa rin yung specimen of choice nyo and anong specimen yung ginagamit for this specific viral disease. Okay? So, titigan nyo lang sila ng mga 10 minutes tapos okay na. Kung may visual kayo. Pero anyways, you just have to familiarize yourself with this one. And then, i-recall ko lang yung collection of common viral specimen kasi nga, ito din, common din siyang nadi-discuss nowadays. So, ang most common na nag-occur right now are the number 2 and number 3, which is the throat swab and the nasopharyngeal swab or aspirate. For throat swab, ito yung ginagamit for enteroviruses, adenoviruses, and HSV. For nasopharyngeal swab, ito yung ginagamit for RSV, influenza, and para-influenza. You also use the bronchoscopy for detection of viruses found in the lower respiratory tracts, specifically your influenza and adenoviruses. You also have your rectal swab, stool, and the use of urine. For viral specimen, tas ang gagamitin nyo is urine, it requires at least 10 ml of a clean voided first morning urine. Okay, first morning urine, 10 ml kapag viral specimen siya. You also use your skin scrapings and the use of blood. For skin scraping, I have mentioned a while ago the use of the Chang smear. Si Chang smear, ginagamit siya sa pag-determine ng or pag-diagnose ng varicella zoster virus or chickenpox. Okay? Your Chang smear is used as a impression smear. Ano bang ginagawa sa Chang smear? Pag Chang smear, usually kasi, pupunta ka dun sa isolation room kung nasan yung patient, and then ang gagawin mo, magsiscrape ka ulit ng, di ba kapag bulutong or chickenpox, kapag may tubig-tubig yung mga yung mga nodules, diba, kunyari yan, may water siya. Ang gagawin mo talaga dyan is, i-break out mo yung, sisirain mo yung isang bubble of chickenpox. So, kapag binutas mo yun, anong mangyayari? Lalabas yung, magsisip out yung water doon. And that water or yung fluid na yun, yun yung infectious. Tapos, ilalagay mo yung water na yon, maglalagay kayo ng fluid dun sa slide nyo. So, eto na yung itsura ng slide nyo. Ganito. So, meron kang fluid part dito. Tapos, after nun, i-air dry nyo siya. And then, you go to your laboratory. Tapos, isi-stain nyo siya ng either right stain or Giemsa. Okay? Tapos, usually, when I was working in the hospital, yung mga inaalay na medtech for Chang smear is yung mga medtech na nagkaroon na ng bulutong or meron ng immunity for chickenpox. Kasi nga, ang gagawin mo, talagang mag-break ka ng chickenpox or nodule na nakakahawa. So, ayun. And then, ayun, nasabi ko na yung sa blood. Now, I'll just mention this one dahil because of the COVID-19. For COVID-19, you detect COVID-19 through the RT-PCR or your real-time polymerase chain reaction. This is a molecular detection using nucleic acid probes. And then, pag PCR kasi, ang ginagawa niya, it duplicates the short DNAs present in the viruses. And then, nadidetect niya kung anong virus na yung present doon. Okay? And then, it also uses the RT-PCR or the reverse transcriptase PCR. Ito naman, pag RT-PCR, ang dinidetect niya RNA. Pag PCR lang, DNA. Okay? And then, ginagamit din si COVID-19 testing kit. For this one, it detects the antibody presence in the patients with COVID-19. So, same lang siya like nung sa dengue. So, kapag meron kayong control, may testing well, and then the sample well. So, maglalagay lang kayo ng serum dun sa sample well nyo, and then you add the buffer solution, and then incubate, and then you'll have your recognition of the antigen antibody for COVID-19. And then, for the positive, kailangan for you to tell that a person had a COVID-19, magiging positive yun sa testing well niya as well as the control well. So that ends your mycology and virology session for this week. I hope you're able to recall Myco Viro, although hindi siya ganun ka-importanteng nire-review for board exams, but it is still essential, lalo na these days, and we never know na baka sa board exam nyo this 2021, baka naman instead na mag-focus sa bacte, mag-focus sa virology. So, on Saturday, prepare for a short quiz. Thank you!